Hi and welcome to Between the Lines. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jade, and we're here to talk about everything health and wellness, fitness, relationships,
Parenting, homeschooling, sex life.
and everything in between. Today we are talking about nutrition. Specifically, we are talking about nutrition and how it affects our sleep, our moods, our training, and what we do around our nutrition. Although I do have some formal training in nutrition, there's no one size fits all.
Yes, yeah.
So there's no one style of eating that benefits everyone, and it definitely is a case by case scenario when it comes to nutrition and what you do in your day. But, here we're just here to give you general ideas of what works for us, what doesn't work for us.
Yeah, what you've been through, we probably have been through it as well. All the mental talk that goes with nutrition.
Yep.
Yeah.
So first, I'll just cover what is a macronutrient. So you often hear me talk about proteins, carbs, fats. That is a macronutrient, basically. So they're the broad... your protein, your carbohydrates, your plants, so your vegetables and your fruit, and your fats.
Yeah.
Okay? And they are important to our overall well-being. They contain all our essential amino acids, all our vitamins and minerals, and they are what provides the fuel for our bodies.
Yeah.
Okay, so proteins help with muscle repair. They are slower to digest. Fats help with cognitive function, and once again, slower to digest, so they make you feel fuller for longer. Carbohydrates give us that quick energy, so before a workout, and they're also good for replenishing energy quick, so you'll often see like marathon runners take gels and things like that.
Yeah.
And then plants contain all our vitamins and minerals. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the overall. Now, I want to start by saying that for me, my nutrition is super simple.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we were just talking about before we started recording, I don't know how I even survived. Like 1,200 calories a day, that is by no means what anyone should do. Like 1,200 calories a day as a menstruating woman is definitely not... advisable.
Yeah.
But yeah, used to train not as hard as I do now. Like I don't think I trained this hard until my mid-30s.
Yeah, same.
And I just don't know how I made it through the day.
Oh, a lot of caffeine.
Yeah. Well, it was, back then it was carbohydrates are evil.
Yes. Yeah.
So you couldn't have potatoes or bread, or, if you had bread with breakfast, you couldn't have peas and corn at dinner because it had too many carbohydrates.
Yeah.
And that is just not the case.
Well, it's not sustainable.
No, not long term. I do believe that women do require less carbohydrates, but we still require some.
Yeah.
So our brains feed on carbohydrates. We don't. They feed on sugars. They don't need to be completely starved of that.
Yeah.
And whether you get all your carbohydrates from plants, that's okay. But you do still need some grains and that in your life as well.
Yeah.
Not a huge amount, but you do need some.
So it's having that balance overall.
Yeah. We aim for every meal to have a protein, a carbohydrate, a plant, and a fat.
Yeah.
And, that could look as simple as for breakfast, we'll have a piece of toast with butter, with scrambled eggs, and spinach.
Yeah.
So we're getting fats, carbohydrates, protein, and our plants.
Yeah.
So,
and you have breakfast every day.
I have breakfast every day. I would not be a happy chappy without breakfast.
Yeah.
I would, without breakfast, my mood is just atrocious. But I wasn't always like that. I used to fall into the trap of not eating
Yeah.
to lose weight, don't eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you eat breakfast?
Not as much as I should.
Laura.
Before Murph I did.
Yep.
So I had some oats and I had a banana.
Yep.
But I am guilty of having a coffee and a pre-workout and heading off into the sunrise. However, that is changing with the amount of training that we're doing.
Yep.
And seeing the lack of energy I have with the lack of food.
Yep.
I'm just not able to lift as heavy, or I don't have the endurance for those high intensity workouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's we need to look at food as fuel.
Yeah.
And fueling our bodies with food. As we've said before, all food gives us something, but it's just putting the right foods in at the right time.
Yes. Yeah.
You could probably have a cake for breakfast and you'd have energy to work out, but it wouldn't give you the same energy as a boiled egg on toast.
Yes. Yeah. That longer lasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, that protein for that muscle repair, and that feeling fuller for longer, like you just wouldn't have any of that.
Yeah. And also you get that crash as well from having that sugar spike.
Yep.
So after the workout, you're absolutely dead.
So is this where I don't tell you that I put maple syrup on my on my breakfast?
That's a little bit of sugar. It's all in balance,
Just a
isn't it?
little bit, yeah. But after our morning session, we also have breakfast again.
Yeah.
So we have like a second breakfast.
Yeah.
So we do the eggs for breakfast, and then we'll do the workout, and we generally have a protein shake because it's quick, easy to get to.
Yeah.
Easy digestible protein.
Yeah. Because you've nearly vomited in the workout.
Yep. And then when we get to work, we generally have like a couple of Wheat Bix for breakfast as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're getting that energy. So obviously, we're physical in the gym, we're physical in our job, and then we come back and coach.
Yeah.
So, we're always on our feet, always on the go. So, which is why we eat a lot more during the day.
Yeah.
And then, we have protein and a plant for morning tea.
Yeah.
A meal prep for the week. So, on a Sunday night, we all get 5 containers of fruit each. Just a fruit salad. We all take fruit salad for morning tea, and then we'll have some sort of protein with morning tea.
Yeah.
Whether that be yogurt or some leftover roast beef or some leftover roast chicken, and then lunch it's the same thing: protein, carbohydrates, and vegetables. And you know what? It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
Yeah.
Like when you start telling people, to fit a plant, a protein, and a carbohydrate, people are like, oh, well, how am I going to do that?
A wrap.
A wrap, yeah, a chicken and salad wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week I made just a curry. There was some jars of curry on special, so I had one of them and chopped up some chicken. So I did chicken curry, some brown rice, and I was out of time, so I just dumped a bag of frozen vegetables into the curry. Doesn't matter that it wasn't, 100% authentic, but it got me my plants.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. Like for the vitamins and minerals, we need to make sure we're eating enough plants.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I was a vegetarian for 10 years, I think it was, until I was pregnant with Shay. So, yeah, definitely getting the plants is important.
Were you a vegetarian through the boys' pregnancy as well?
I had a tiny amount of meat, I think, with Kai, and I felt terrible. So,
really?
Yeah, so I was vegetarian.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had good pregnancies, I have to say.
Okay.
So we would make meals that had a lot more lentils in them.
Yep.
So we were still getting the protein. I ate a lot of eggs.
Yep.
Yes, but I've just found the love of meat again since I've had Shay.
Yeah.
So, and I've just been finding the more protein I'm adding into my diet,
Yep.
the more energy I am having.
Yeah.
And I, quite honestly have had quite a long journey with the not eating
Yep.
mental state.
Yep.
So some days I'm really good and some days I don't eat till dinner.
Yep.
And but I feel it, and it does affect my training.
Yep.
This type of training has really shone a light on my nutrition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find if I don't eat during the day, I get hungry.
Yep.
And I don't monitor my weight anymore. Eating disorders teach you not to monitor your weight and to be about your body more than anything else and how your body feels.
Yeah.
So I don't monitor my weight, but occasionally I'll jump on a scale.
Yeah.
And I have not fluctuated, like the weight hasn't changed over the last few years. But the amount I eat does.
Yes.
So over the last 2 years, the amount of food I've eaten has probably doubled.
Yeah.
But the scale stays the same.
Yeah, okay. So that's really important for people to understand.
Yeah, and I'm much happier in my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much happier in my body, eating more food often and good food, not good food, there's no such thing as good and bad food, but the food that my body needs for fuel.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Although, I do know when, I think I was complaining to you on Friday that I'd been eating too much cake of late.
Yeah.
And I could feel it in my body.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that's the big issue, is listening to your body.
Yeah.
And taking away that negative self-talk. I wasn't mad at myself for eating the cake, but I noticed it was making my body not feel great.
Yes. And that's what I also said to you.
Yeah.
I had a really massive day, not getting home till late after yoga, had a big dinner, and then I also then had a massive binge. And then the next day, my training was terrible.
Yeah.
My stomach did not feel right. And that was almost like a little turning point for me. I'm like, I can't fuel my body like this. I want my training sessions to feel great.
Yep.
I want to feel strong. I don't want to have to be dealing with any gut issues while I'm trying to do a workout.
Yep.
So, that was a really good lesson to learn. Sometimes you just got to learn the lesson. You can be told till the cows come home, but you have to experience it.
You have to feel it, yeah. And that's, I know for us as well, during the work days, I have routine around eating. So I have breakfast, and then we go to the gym, and then we have a protein shake, and then we have Weet-Bix, and then we have morning tea, and then we have lunch, and then I have an afternoon snack because I know I'm not going to get home till 8 o'clock, and then I have dinner.
Yeah.
And then we actually have another protein shake before bed to help us sleep. So that slow acting protein to make us feel full and stay asleep.
Yeah.
And on a Saturday and Sunday, it's busy. We go to the gym. We still get up and we have breakfast, but often like people hang around after class. So I'll have my protein shake, but I'll miss my Weet-Bix. And then I have PT clients. And I might get lunch. I might forget.
Yeah.
Then I go do food shopping. And then by the time you get home, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, shit, I haven't eaten.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't feel very well.
No. And that's what I've been noticing with this training, is I start to feel a little bit antsy in the morning because I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I never really used to feel.
And then it affects your training for the next 2 days.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's not just that one day. Like you get up in the morning and you're fatigued, and you feel like you've got no strength.
Yes, yeah.
There's just like you're going to lift that barbell and you can lift it, but you just can't get it off the ground.
Yeah.
And I find that just continues on. So it'll start today, and if then Sunday we won't eat as well, and then it'll happen again on Monday and then Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then by Wednesday I'm completely wrecked because I'm not sleeping as well. And then by Thursday I feel okay. Friday I feel great.
Yeah.
Saturday it goes to shit again.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's, I guess, trying to be as prepared as you can.
Yeah.
So what about for people who might not train to that capacity? They might train 3 times a week.
I still believe that protein is really important. That protein and that balance between the protein, the carbohydrates, and the plants.
Yeah.
As I said, there's no one size fits all. So I find lots of little meals often work well for us.
Yeah.
But there's nothing wrong with your 3 square meals a day either. But you just have to make sure that you're fueling your body correctly. And I think the trap that a lot of people fall into is, okay, well, Monday I train at the gym, so I'm going to eat today.
Yeah.
Tuesday I'm not training, so I'm not going to eat.
Yeah.
But that's not how it works. So, if you're trying to lose weight, you need a calorie deficit, and that's taken across an entire week.
Yeah.
It's not taken across just one day.
Yeah.
So maintaining those good eating habits across those entire days is going to benefit training 3 days a week. It's going to benefit your weight loss. If you're trying to increase weight, it's going to benefit your weight increase as well. It's just about that consistency.
That makes sense, actually, rolling from one day to the next. So if you've not eaten on the day that you're not doing stuff, well, when you do things, you've got nothing.
That's right.
I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense, but it's one of those things where, if you want to lose weight, it's people tell you it's as simple as just not eating the calories. So we do feel if we're, I don't know if it's human behavior or the way we've been conditioned, but people feel like if I'm not training today, well, I shouldn't eat.
That's an absolute conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same with the low fats, low sugar, low this, low that.
Yeah.
All the while having other additives and things like that.
Yeah, and not only that, like things like low fat, obviously not so much our generation, but our parents' generation, it was drilled into them, right? No fat. Yogurt had no fat. Lean sausages, lean mince.
Yeah.
But our bodies need fats.
Yeah.
Our brains need fats.
It's good for hormones as well.
Good for regulating hormones. Helps with digestion. I'm not saying go out and eat, all the fat off a loin chop or but having fat in our diet is actually really good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It helps with sleep, it helps with digestion, and helps with our hormones, helps with our brain function, keeps us fuller for longer because it's harder to digest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is all really important when it comes to nutrition. And low sugar, no sugar. Like, I don't know if you've picked up a drink that says no sugar and you look at the list of ingredients on the back and you think, I don't know any of this.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
All of those sugar replacements, I just don't know what they are. I don't know what they're made from. I know they originate from plant products, but they're so over-engineered that...
Are they any better?
Long term, what are they actually doing to our genetics and our DNA?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The central nervous system.
And the central nervous system. Do they, having, a teaspoon of honey, it has the same sugar spike effect as a teaspoon of xylitol, right? It has the same, but honey being natural, is our body more likely to digest it and understand it than, the xylitol or whatever it's called.
And not only that, honey has other properties as well, medicinal properties. So it's coming back to the more natural ways.
Yeah. And I'm not saying, don't eat anything low fat or low sugar, but it really does have to form that balanced diet.
Yeah.
And I would much prefer someone have, a full fat Greek yogurt than a low fat Yoplait.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this full fat Greek yogurt is going to keep you fuller for longer. It's got proteins. It's got everything that you need in there, versus this that's got the fake sugar and the low fat and half the protein, and your body's going to chew through it because it's higher in sugar as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of, the competition that we did the other weekend, I was kind of unsure as to how much to have before a massive workout like that. And whether I would have enough energy but not feel like I'm going to vomit all this food up.
So it comes down to timing.
Yeah.
So definitely the morning of a competition, we should be aiming for, once again, that protein, that carbohydrates, at least 2 hours before.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then leading up, I'd also have something with carbohydrates close to it. Generally, I recommend for people who get funny tummies, because obviously you don't want to also, if it's the first competition, actually don't want to change what you're eating before the first competition.
Yeah.
Because you're going to end up on the toilet. And that's really not helpful.
Yeah.
But generally, I would advise fast-acting sugars.
Okay.
So I know for myself, we pack pineapple, apple, and oranges.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
so they're all high in carbohydrates. They're all high in sugars. Obviously, fructose, natural occurring sugar.
Yeah.
But they also have that high carbohydrates, so you're getting that energy spike just before your workout.
Okay. Yeah.
And then, as I said to you, I crashed because I didn't eat afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after the competition, we all should have had our salad wraps. We should have had our salad rolls and our sandwiches. We should have replenished with our protein.
Yeah.
And our carbohydrates and our plants. We should have had our protein.
Yeah.
But none of us did. And we got in the car and went and bought a whole cake and ate the whole thing. Because I was craving so much sugar.
Yeah.
Because my body had crashed.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there is no stopping. Once you have got to that point of sugar craving, you will eat the whole packet of biscuits.
Yeah. Once you've opened the floodgates, there's just no stopping it.
Yeah.
And I do believe it just comes from that your body has crashed.
Yeah.
And your body is telling you, I need energy now.
Yeah.
And the easiest thing to get energy from is sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, we're also conditioned to treat ourselves as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Whether you have had problems with eating in the past, we are definitely conditioned to treat yourself.
Yes, that's something that I definitely am, it's a work in progress. So after the competition or back when I used to do workshops and things, the first thing I'd go for is a Kit Kat junkie. I would be eating that chocolate because I have worked my ass off and I deserve this sweet treat.
Yep.
Now I'm allowed to have this
Yep.
because I've done all this exercise. So that's a mentality of the starvation, then the reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is just conditioning.
Yeah.
That is just conditioning. Oh, you know, as I said back in the early days in one of our previous podcasts, you've just run for 60 minutes on a treadmill. Well, you can go home and have that cookie now.
Yeah.
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 But
often it's not just that one cookie.
No, at Easter time, every gym used to put out, 2 burpees or, 10 burpees buys you 1 caramel egg.
Yeah.
Whereas rather than we should be looking at a more holistic approach and across our entire eating.
Yeah.
You have a blowout today, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But if you're eating 10 chocolate eggs every day, that's when we've got to have a conversation.
Yeah.
But that one blowout of the full gluten-free chocolate cake on. Although it made me feel terrible. My stomach felt bad.
Yeah.
It was an hour later I had the sugar crash. So it was a false energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you haven't fueled enough, then you don't even have that mental clarity to think of the long term. You, like you say, you're just looking for that instant, I need energy now.
Yeah.
And I don't care
Yeah.
about the consequence later on.
Yeah, and then you ride through that consequence of the sugar crash or the caffeine crash or, the sore muscles, the DOMS.
Yeah.
Because we didn't put enough protein into our system, those sore muscles, well, they were sore.
Oh, they were sore.
The little T-Rex.
Just didn't want to open. Yeah.
It was a Tuesday morning, so 3 days after, part of our accessories were some strict pull-ups. And I'm like, no.
It was the kicking the legs to get you up. Yeah.
But it came down to I didn't feel correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know what I'm doing. Like, I should know better. You know, I've done sports nutrition. I know better.
Yeah.
But not for myself.
Yeah.
Do you find that starving yourself during the day affects your sleep? Or forgetting to eat, or, you know, does that affect your sleep?
Oh, definitely. Like, you feel hungry.
Yep.
For sure. I'm not one to wake up and have a snack.
Yep.
I've never done that. But I will eat on the couch watching shows.
Yep.
And it will always be something sweet.
Yep.
And then or I'll have a sore stomach going to sleep. Yes.
Yep.
And then that continues on. So that's how it affects my sleep.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, things can't happen if you've got sore tummies in bed.
No. And, you know, and if you have eaten, you know, all the things that trigger sore stomachs at bedtime, you're bloated.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want to do is be seen naked because you feel, you know, like, well, how am I attractive?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and then that negative self-talk comes in.
Yeah.
You know, why did I eat this? You know, now I'm fat. You know.
Yep.
You know, why would he want to have sex with me?
Yeah.
You know, and it just all
spirals.
It all spirals.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And knowing this, we still don't eat. Still don't eat properly. Look, I reckon I'm getting better. I'm a work in progress.
Yeah. Like I said, this training has definitely shed lights on looking at my well-being holistically and how I'm taking care of my body.
Yep.
And if I have goals and I want to continue doing competitions, then it's eating for training. It's sleeping for training because that is my current goal.
Recovering for training.
Yeah.
And we had the same conversation. You know, I know we've had conversations about self-care and taking care of ourselves and it's obviously something that I lack a lot of, but if I want to continue to train and I want to get better at training, I've got to do that self-care.
Yes.
It's about time I went and did that ice bath.
Yeah.
Or went for that massage.
Yeah.
Or made sure I've packed enough protein for the day.
Yes. Yeah. All the things that we tell our clients, the things that we tell our children, you know.
And that's a big one for us as well. Like, our daughter has just started to get into the realm of fitness. You know, so she does cheerleading and gymnastics and she does the kids CrossFit class and, you know, she is quite a fussy eater. So we've definitely had to pivot our conversations around nutrition of you need protein.
Yeah.
If you want to continue to do what you need to do, you need protein. And even things like we talk about the nutrients that her body needs from the foods.
Yeah.
You know, she's turning 11 this year. You know, we're heading towards, you know, first periods.
Yeah.
You know, so we're talking about, you know, spinach gives you iron. You know, she's not a big meat eater and that's okay. Like, if she wants to go vegetarian, that's okay.
Yeah.
But while she's still on the fence about that, you know, you need to eat this piece of steak.
Yeah.
Because it has iron in it and your body's going to need that.
Yeah. You know, so many times kids go, well, why? Well, why? Well, why? But if we actually have that answer for them, you know, it will make sense to them. Yeah, especially if your kids do a lot of sports.
Yeah.
And changing the way they look at food.
Yeah, so we don't give like chocolates as a reward.
Yeah.
So she gets treats. She often buys them herself. You know, she cleans the leaves up at the gym, and that's her pocket money.
Yeah.
And so like she'll often buy herself a treat, but we don't in any way associate those treats with training.
Yeah.
So they're here in the fridge. And we don't say, oh, you know, you did a great job at training today, so you can have a chocolate. We don't at all say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
She asks if she can have a chocolate, and we ask her, how much sugar have you eaten today?
Yes. Yeah. We do the same.
Yeah.
For dessert.
Yep.
Okay, there is no dessert tonight, guys. Why is that? Because we had muffins and this today.
Yeah, and it's about balance, right? Like we don't, you know, I'm guilty. I love just a single scoop of ice cream after dinner. But if we've had extra cake during the day, we're not having dessert.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not a punishment, and it's that, no, you can't have more sweet things.
Yeah.
It's over the whole day.
Even like, you know, as a reward for eating all your dinner. Oh, well, if you eat all your dinner, you can have ice cream. We don't do that either.
Okay.
Mainly for the fact, because I've had an eating disorder, you know, it was always given as a reward.
Yeah.
Chocolates were always given as a reward. I was rewarding myself, and then I felt horrible about myself.
Yeah.
So we don't look at it like that.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you've made an effort with your dinner and you've eaten, you know, majority of it, and we're having dessert, well, then you can have it too.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, as long as you've made an effort and you've eaten things that you need to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, not forcing everything on the plate to be eaten as well. You know, I think that can play into the psyche of that overeating.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I've got to finish it all.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I may as well finish that whole packet of chips. And
we definitely, and you know what, if my mum or my grandma, you know, we're at our dining table, I'm sure they'd be cringing, because we don't force her to stay and finish things that she doesn't like, or, you know, you put so much on her plate. And what I'm slowly teaching her to say is, I no longer feel like it.
Yeah.
Because often she'll say, I'm full, to get out of eating it.
Yeah. Okay.
But she no longer wants it.
Yes. Yeah.
She's eaten what she feels is enough of that meal. So we're slowly teaching her to tell me, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Not I'm full,
Yeah.
I've just had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they still want to eat the dessert, so they're technically not full.
Exactly. And I don't have a problem with eating dessert.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
sugar's not the enemy.
No, it's the balance of it all.
Yeah.
And the portion sizing.
Yep.
You know, not beating yourself up for having those indulgences or, you know, chips or whatever.
Yep.
It's the amount, and that was what caused my stomach issue the other day. You were like, probably the whole packet is what hurt your stomach, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Whether it is buying the small packets, like you said, or...
Yeah, look, I know for a fact I have no self-control. I'm an all or nothing kind of person.
Yeah.
As you can see with my training and my businesses and my friendships, and like I'm an all or nothing kind of person. So for me, I buy smaller portions.
Yeah.
Might be more expensive, but it means that I know that exactly what I'm getting.
Yeah. You haven't deprived yourself of something nice to eat.
Yep.
But it's not going to overload your stomach to where it actually is struggling to digest and rolls over.
Yep. So we have, you know, a piece of cake with morning tea. On a Sunday, I'll cook a couple of cakes, and we ice them and we cut them up, and I actually put them into containers for the day, and I freeze a few. So, and every day when we go to work, I pull out my one container of cake, which has got one piece for me and two for Scott. So we're still getting those indulgences.
Yeah.
But I'm not left with a full cake sitting at work, because I'll eat it.
Yeah.
I know I will.
Yeah.
And I'm not restricting myself, but I know what I'm like, and then I'll feel like crap.
Yes.
And it'll stop me from being able to eat the protein
Yeah.
and the plants,
Yeah.
which then affects my training and my mood and my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, always kind of stepping back and looking at everything over a long period of time or over the week.
Over the week rather than, I ate too much today, so I won't eat tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking about this the other day. Fasting is pretty popular at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience with fasting. The only experience I have with fasting is clients coming to me trying to lose weight, and fasting is what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't working for them.
Yeah, okay.
So all the customers, like all the clients that I've had with nutrition training, a lot of them have tried fasting. They're not losing weight. So I take them back to the original eating meals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop starving yourself.
Yeah.
That I don't know the science behind it. And to be honest, I've never looked into the science behind it because it doesn't align with what I believe in.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't believe in starving yourself because I think it does too much of that all or nothing mentality.
Yes. Yeah.
And nutrition is just as much a mental game as it is anything else.
I agree 100%. I would say that I have done quite a bit of fasting.
Yep.
Sometimes by accident, sometimes or just purposely not having anything until midday.
Yep.
But I just keep coming back to the fact that I can't maintain that with this type of training that I'm doing now.
Yep.
And it's not always a happy place to be.
I was going to say, do you get hangry?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not everything that you do in life, is going to be full of joy, but that consistent non-eating, it really plays on your mind and you're waiting for that meal.
Yeah, and you're waiting to eat and you're waiting to, and I get too hangry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get antsy. I get short-tempered. Jeez, it sounds like I get short-tempered a lot. So as long as I sleep, I have sex, you feed me, I'm good.
Yeah, and you have some sleep.
And I have some sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
So as long as you're a functioning human,
I'm good. I'm not cranky at all.
I do start to feel a little bit on edge.
Yep.
When I've got to that point where I know that I am really hungry.
Yeah.
And if I'm not prepared, then I'll go for a muesli bar.
Yep.
And then that's not enough.
Yep.
So, it's having the protein options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing, especially when you're on the go and, you take the kids out for the day.
Yeah.
I find on Tuesdays on my homeschooling day, I sometimes don't eat breakfast until I'm about to go out to the homeschool event. Or second breakfast anyway.
Yeah.
So then I'm also then trying to smash my lunch down at 9 o'clock in the morning because I know being gluten-free obviously adds an extra layer of difficulty getting food while you're out and about. But I know that I'm not going to eat then until 3 o'clock. And if something goes wrong and I don't get past the workshop on the way back up the hill, then poor 4:30.
So my husband does Jade's 4:30 class, and he's had a few stories to tell. And he's like, "What do we have to do, Jade? Do we have to throw a muesli bar at you?" He's like, "I'm going to come with muesli bars."
There was an incident. I got stuck trying to find a car park in Fremantle for an hour, which resulted in tears to my husband. I hate driving. And I hate finding parking.
Yeah.
I didn't eat all day. And then I was on my way back to the house and my dog had had an accident. So it was just one catastrophe to another, and I got to the gym and I was so angry and I was so full of rage. I got stuck in traffic. I almost ran out of fuel. But I hadn't eaten.
Yeah.
And he forgived me because he promised to bring me muesli bars in the future. My lovely husband rolled up at like 5 o'clock with a protein shake and a muesli bar and a banana, and everything was all good in the world.
Yeah.
But we won't be making that mistake again.
No. Yeah, it's amazing to look back on how we got through life on the very little food.
I just don't know how I survived.
I think there was not much of an element of thriving, really.
Yeah.
When I do look back, could have been more productive, been a bit more joy in the days. I was exhausted. I did get to a burnout point. Yeah.
I definitely regret, so I didn't join sort of the weight loss fitness journey until probably it was after we got married, about 2 years after we got married. When we got married, I was 100 kilos, ate a packet of cream biscuits for morning tea every day, barely ate at all, so didn't eat breakfast, drank, ate lots of sugar. Lunch was a pie and a Fanta.
Yeah.
And then, I started on the weight loss journey. And then I feel like I lost so many years of like just fumbling through.
Yeah.
Of not fueling my body.
Yeah.
And obviously with the eating disorder as well, like I lost so much time just looking at the mirror, and my training was nowhere near what it was now. Like I wish I'd done this 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Like it would have been amazing.
So, that feeling, it's not normal to have that. I'm so hungry. I am feeling nauseous.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not normal to be hungry and starve yourself.
Yeah.
That's not normal.
So what about the idea of letting your digestive system rest? So I guess that's what comes into the fasting.
Yeah. So look, there's your digestive system, obviously, like everything else, does need a rest, right? But there's also times throughout the day where it does rest.
Yeah.
But it is also constantly going. So you could eat, a piece of steak in the morning and you're still digesting that 24 hours later.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So your digestive system's never going to completely rest. It's like telling your heart to rest.
Yeah, okay.
It's telling your heart to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just doesn't happen.
Yeah, but then fueling it with foods that it can break down and understands the compounds of the foods.
Yeah. And foods that it'll absorb
Yeah.
rather than foods that you won't absorb.
And so things like food intolerances as well. So really getting to understand that within your body.
Yeah. Being able to fuel your body correctly with food intolerances is really tricky.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times you will, especially if you were diagnosed with an intolerance later on in life, you will reach for food that you know is going to upset your digestive system, but you're going to eat it anyway because, you miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair enough.
So, I think that is a big thing, like trying, if you know that you can't eat gluten, don't eat it.
Yeah.
Nothing tastes as good as not having that upset digestive system because it takes a while to recover.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can take up to 3 months for your digestive system to recover from eating something that's caused an intolerance.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
For celiac disease.
Oh, that's just for intolerances. For celiacs, it may never recover.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I certainly notice dairy for me.
Yep.
I have a response of the body breaking out in a sweat if
Yep.
I've gone too much with it.
Yep.
So I'm pulling back on that. And I'm not celiac. I haven't had anything tested.
Yep.
But I just know that I don't feel quite right if I've had a lot of bread.
Yep.
It's you just feel a bit off.
Yep.
As opposed to having your leafy greens, your protein, your vegetables, your potatoes.
Yep.
You feel great.
Yeah. Yeah. We were diagnosed with gluten intolerance later on in life. So not celiac, but gluten intolerance. Occasionally we'll have a slip up and you pay for it. You instantly, within 6 hours, you're bloated, you're uncomfortable, your training is terrible because your body's not digesting the food that it needs to.
Yeah.
It definitely plays a massive part in how we eat.
Yeah.
But also plays a massive part in our ability to get food on the run.
Yeah.
Which has then made me be a lot more prepared. Unlike the early days when I was very hangry with poor Mike at 4:30, to be a lot more prepared.
Yeah.
And to make sure that I'm always taking a protein option or a snack option with me that is gluten-free just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you... So obviously in the last podcast I talked about that I use a pre-workout.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, everyone's nutrition is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And you won't need a pre-workout.
Yeah.
But this isn't an ideal world.
Yeah.
And life is busy and
Caffeine is great.
caffeine. Do you take any supplements?
I do also have pre-workout.
Yep.
I have creatine with the pre-workout, which I dabbled a few years ago, but have done it a lot more consistently since this training. And I have found that it has immensely helped with the weight training. Not having lifted heavy like this before.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a great support.
So creatine is naturally made by our bodies. And what it does is it stores in our muscles and our bones, and it releases energy as we need it. So for lifting weight, you can hold on to weights for longer because it releases that energy into the system. We also use creatine and definitely notice the difference in how my body reacts to weightlifting when we're taking creatine.
Yeah.
There's things where, people talk about that you hold on to water weight with creatine. I haven't noticed it personally, but I do know it does affect everyone differently.
Yeah.
The only thing about creatine is it can be a little bit harsh on the tummy.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's maybe something I need to also think about my timing.
It can be a little bit harsh on the tummy. But if you've been taking it for a while, I doubt that would upset it now. It's usually just in the beginning that it does get a little bit harsh on the tummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about amino acids or electrolytes and things like that?
Yeah, so I can attest to electrolytes. Like for me, because of the training that we do, I'm a sweaty Betty as well, so I sweat a lot. I don't often hydrate during the day. We are on the go with our other business all the time. So electrolytes have played a massive role in our life as well. Just for that long-term dehydration.
Yeah.
I think we are all at risk of running into that long-term dehydration between, busy lives and training, not drinking enough water.
Yeah.
And the electrolytes just replenish some of the salts in your system as well. So it's not just about water.
Yeah.
Sometimes water just doesn't cut it.
Yeah, I actually feel a really good energy lift after having electrolytes, which I did have on Sunday after the the competition.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I find myself as well, like you sit down of a night time at the dinner table and, you know, I'm so thirsty and I just can't get enough water into me, and Scott will make me an electrolyte, and it gives you that, I feel like I've got energy back.
Yes.
And I no longer feel like there's a Sahara desert going on in my
Yeah. Yeah, I actually felt like I went from a zombie to a human.
Yep.
Within about 5 minutes, which was,
It's that chronic dehydration and replenishing our bodies with that dehydration.
So, and then water is a big part of our nutrition as well.
It should be. No judgment. No judgment. Face. No judgment.
She asked me, so Laura, how's that water going? And I'm like, good.
First sip of the day. Coffee doesn't count.
No, it doesn't.
Neither does pre-workout.
No, it doesn't. But yes, you know, that when you think you're hungry, you also are thirsty as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think drinking water is one of those hard things. You know, we're constantly on the go. You forget to drink it, or you forget your water bottle, or the kids forget their water bottle, and you're like, here, take mine.
Yeah.
And then I'm not drinking that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way I'm drinking that after they've done rollbacks in there.
You can have it for the rest of the day.
I don't need it today. That's fine. I'll cut my hands under a tap if I have to, but I'm not drinking those rollbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you know, that hydration is a big part of it. You know, there's actually some pretty cool tests that you can do around training. So, like, you weigh yourself before you train, and then you weigh yourself after training, and then you know, you've got to measure how much water you drank during your training session. You can actually work out how much, like, hydration you've used and how much water you should be drinking to replenish it. Yeah, so
we should do that at the gym. Yeah.
We'll do it as a challenge maybe to try and get everyone thinking about hydration and how important it is.
Yeah.
I find if I'm not hydrated, my skin is horrible. Like, I feel like my eyes are sunken in.
Yes, same.
And my skin is really dry.
Yeah.
And just not pliable, and I can see all those wrinkles.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely feel the same.
And then I'm really guilty sometimes of coming home of a night time and knowing that I haven't drunk enough, so like I smash 2 bottles of water down and then I'm up peeing all night.
Yeah.
Which doesn't help either.
Yeah. Then you're not sleeping, and then so the cycle.
And then but it's all about that cycle. And I think one of the biggest lessons with nutrition is just keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, keeping it simple, aiming for that protein, aiming for that carbohydrates, aiming for that plant, aiming for that fat.
Yeah.
And just get that in a meal. Even if that's 3 times a day, get that in a meal.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about the long term and the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know, not starving yourself on the days that you're not training or exercising.
And I don't, you know, if you eat cake today, I don't want you to starve yourself of dinner because you've already eaten your calories. I don't really care about this cake. Like, it can stay in the middle of the day where it belongs.
Yeah.
But having that, you know, that continuous long-term, you know, eating and that pattern of eating all those meals that your body needs will have much more long-term benefits than starving yourself because I ate a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Or I didn't train today.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, and, you know, just finding things that are easy to eat that work in with your lifestyle.
Yes, I am not a chef at all. Mike is the chef at home. I don't enjoy cooking. So the simpler, the better for me.
Yep.
Definitely.
I used to enjoy cooking. That was before I had a child who, you know, will look at it and tell me that they don't like it. You're like, but you haven't even tried it.
Yeah, that's soul destroying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But for us, I know, you know, dinner times have got to be simple.
Yeah.
We get home late, dinner's simple.
Yeah.
And not sweating the small stuff. We should eat the rainbow. We should eat our 2 and 5, our 2 fruit, our 5 veg, eating as many different colours as possible.
Yeah.
But especially when it comes to kids, if, they're eating something and all they want on their dinner plate is carrots, tomatoes and cucumber, and then that's all they eat, well, who cares?
Yeah.
It's just teaching that they are to eat those vegetables with dinner.
Yeah.
Eating those plants. I don't care what plants you eat, but as long as you're getting plants in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I know lentils is a big one that I need to add more, lentils and beans, and I need to add more of that to my diet.
Yeah.
I don't eat enough of that.
But also not too much. Yeah, I take that from experience. And I think as well, we talk about it quite a bit, the season that you are in, for women especially. I have a bottomless stomach a few days before my cycle. So not beating yourself up and trying to give yourself the foods that are nourishing in those times.
I think there's nothing wrong with eating, the chocolates and the chips, but I think we need to reach for that protein first.
Yeah, definitely.
For that hormone regulation, heading into perimenopause, that protein is really important.
Yeah.
Sugars cause our hormones to spike, so eating lots of sugar and lots of those sorts of things that are going to cause more spikes.
Yeah.
Whereas if we go for the protein first, then have your piece of cake.
Yeah. You probably won't eat as much because you start to feel full.
You start to feel full, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just being, aware of where you are in your cycle and, going, okay, I want this block of chocolate. Well, I'll have this piece of protein first, or I'll have this lentil curry first.
Yeah.
Then I can have that.
Yeah.
Let's nourish.
Yeah.
Then we have what's left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not beating yourself up either,
Throwing out that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because all food gives us something. And in those days before your cycle where all you want is sweet food, that's what our body's asking for.
Yeah. And it's that magnesium that we're actually craving from the chocolate.
Yeah.
But I just don't think a magnesium spray is going to cut it.
Look, a magnesium
spray, chocolate bar.
Chocolate it is.
Yeah. But I've taken a lot. And when you have, with this nutrition, if you have certain goals, always come back to what is my goal here?
Yeah. What is my goal? What am I trying to achieve? What do I need to do to achieve those goals? Does that include, eating more protein, or, am I losing weight? Do I want to lose weight? Do I need to reduce the amount that I eat? Reduce my portions.
Yeah.
I don't want you to cut out meals.
Yeah.
But reduce your portions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Yeah. And just being phone down at the dinner table, getting rid of that distraction. Same as our relationships, right? Like we talked about being distracted by this thing that's in our hand all the time.
Yeah.
It's the same as at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Don't be distracted. Same as lunch. Don't be distracted by that phone. Put it aside.
Yeah.
Allocate time for breakfast. Allocate time for lunch.
Yeah, it's that being present with your food.
Yep.
Yeah, as opposed to the mindless eating.
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, I think we've talked enough about nutrition today.
I think it's time to eat.
It's afternoon tea time.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Thank you very, very much for watching today. We would love to hear your go-to meals for quick and easy snacks on the go, things that you get the kids to do.
I need some tips.
Yeah. Look, I have ideas, but you know, I'm a simple girl. I'm a meat and veg kind of girl. So hit me with up some of your ideas. We'd love to share some recipes for everyone. And yeah, like, share, subscribe.
Yeah. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and we hope to hear from you soon.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.